way these people make their own choices in the first place. So what we tell is that they can make this choice of their own accord if they feel these religious beliefs are thank you. If they feel these religious beliefs are not So moving on to the second question of what effect does this have. Now, firstly, what they said is that this changes the mindset because the government has the capacity to overcome religious dogma. First off, we don't think that's the case at all, right? Many governments in these places don't have as much power to overcome the religious dogma in many of these cases in the first place. But secondly, what they said is that making education compulsory means that you suddenly make all this long-term change possible. Firstly, we tell you that what we create is firstly, the parents, if they don't send their children to faith school, they can still homeschool their children. They can still further push these values upon their children within the house itself. Because they start thinking that the state is directly attacking their religious beliefs. But secondly, the issue of faith schools, even if you were to accept that you did mandate some for these faith schools, we think that's extremely problematic in our side of the house because faith schools are something that the religions explicitly see as far as a charitable measure of their own. When you directly intervene in a venture which these religions consider their own, we think it's especially harmful on our side of the house. Then we have this idea about arbitrary discrimination. Right? First, we're telling that this age is changing, and secondly, we're telling that laws are effective at combating this discrimination. Right? We don't see why it's so hard for people, ladies and gentlemen, for people to go to court and claim that they were discriminated against because they were homosexual. But even if you were to accept that arbitrary discrimination exists, we tell you again it's worse than your side of the house because all we do is try and recognize people from these religious communities right now. And we don't think actually creates any long-term change in that way. Now, we brought up this example of the worker in France and said that women adapted. Women didn't adapt. Women were forced to wear the hijab. Women were forced to had imposed upon them by the state, and that's exactly what the proposition is doing as well. Then they had this idea of religious charities, which still exists, people will telling the religion that everything about this religion is bad. What we tell you is that religious charities won't exist won't be as strong anymore because now religions feel the need to divert this money into things like political lobby. Religions feel the need to divert this money to actively campaign against the cost of benefits you talked about on your side. Today, moving on to my question. Yes,
which one is it? Is religion so progressive in this community there's actually no need on policy? Or is it really that it's going to be backlash and all those harmful? Which one is it?
Now we tell you that right now religion is progressing, right? It's our job as a government to recognize this progress. But the problem is when you go and implement your policy at that point of time, that's when you make these religions go back to their regressive methods, and we have a problem with that on our side. First, we respect the rights of our community. First, we tell you that we already have this sort of dominant human rights narrative within these countries. Right? But what happens with these policies? First, we tell you that parents themselves feel that it's an attack on their religion, right? Especially since, as they put it, you're manipulating their kids. You're taking advantage of these vulnerable people in society. They think it's especially problematic under their side of the house. But what happens as a result of parents' feelings? First, we think parents' feelings. First, we think that moderates within this community themselves get polarized because they feel that again the state is interfering with religion. But secondly, we think at home itself, the parents have a far greater capacity to impose religion on their children on their side of the house. They have a far greater capacity to actually impose the negative amount of religion on their side of the house and exclude the positive benefits that religion actually brings to you. So the second part about why the religious minorities are better off on our side. Firstly, what we can do is that majorities in a liberal democracy often don't identify exclusively with religion. Majorities in a liberal democracy are often not identified with religion. But we tell you that minorities within this community are the ones who often feel secure within these religions. They are the ones who feel that these religious beliefs are important to them, and they are the ones who think that religion provides them with the cultural assets. Yes,
if religion is really as big as not changing as possible, how does your side contribute for internal change and nobody in religion was to contribute?
Now, my telling you that religion is changing, I'm giving you an example for the 4% homosexuality. Okay, and since you just asked me the POI before, I'll give you the same response on how when you implement your policy, all you do is take away from the positive aspects of religion, you take away from the progress of religion as already. Okay. So what we tell is that minorities within these countries often identify with this religion stronger because they feel that it gives them cultural access. We see this in communities like the Jews in the United States. Right? They often identify very strongly with these religions because they feel that this is very religion because it prevents the choice that people have to go into whichever religion they want. It prevents the choice that people have, to make decisions about their life. Secondly, I told you that this has a negative effect on their side of the world because what they're doing by forcing these children into a particular viewpoint is all they're doing is creating backlash amongst these religions and incentivizing these religions to move to further extremist representation. Then finally, I show you why this policy is going to be counterproductive and why it affects minorities and status quo. For all these reasons, I'm very proud of this.
Is that all religion is one that is progressive. We think that what at best side government does is that we provide the best avenue for them to progress and we empower that avenue for them to progress because they don't maximize the opportunities that they can get in society and in current status quo because education is not maximized and the most amount of opportunities that they can get from education, for example, evolutionism, these are most things that people and children lose out on because of the limits that religion puts upon them. We think that if they can reach to the maximum capacity, why should religion stop them? We think that there are two issues in today's debate that I will talk about. Firstly, is it legitimate to use educational policies to create better people in society? Secondly, I'm going to talk about the harms that religion will bring into if we don't carry out this policy. And before that, two things that don't fit my issues. Number one, they wanted to talk to us about how Western liberal democracies are very progressive and religion is progressive in these circumstances. This is why I told you, we need to create a better avenue for them to progress. That means we have to legitimize the form of progression that is happening in current status quo because there is nobody telling them that what you're doing is currently is good. It's bringing some form of benefit to the people. We think that we're more than happy to prove that progression. The second thing that doesn't fit my issue is that they told us that they had this great idea of what if parents move away to home schools or what if parents move away to faith schools then? Number one, this directly proves how bigoted of a society that side opposition wants to live in. Secondly, we think that when people actually accept educational policies that we put forth, as in the policies that we're going to carry on, and it actually works and some form of change actually happens in society, it will automatically bring society together and obviously everyone will want to opt into public schools now because they don't want to lose the opportunities that they will get for public schools like extracurricular activities, more chances of scholarship, so on and so forth. But even if their best case scenario, we are fine with a very minimal number of parents and students going into faith schools and home schools because at the end of the day, they will have to opt out of it because the rest of society is changing, you're going to lose out on the race we go. First issue, is it legitimate to use educational policies to create better people in society? The first thing that side opposition wanted to contend with in our case was that they told us it won't be effective and it should happen organically. So number one, it's very hard to implement. I'll take you and what you can see. It's very hard to implement because of the conservative nature of religion. Secondly, how everyone needs education in the first place. The subsequent interest that we create in today's debate is number one, we make you realize what you've been thinking all this while in what you have learned or been taught in that conservative and religious society is wrong. Homosexual people aren't that bad after all, and families aren't that bad after all. These are not people that what you have concepted to be the people that you have been taught what in your church or by your parents or indoctrinated with since you're small. So the school is the base of that what that child will perceive to be about when he goes into society. So the school manipulates and engineers the mind of that child. Secondly, how will this create change in society? Because if schools have to be a reflection of society, and if society is filled with even if a minority number of gay people, a minority number of feminist people, schools have to make the students ready to face the reality in the first place. This means that education helps social integration. So does these policies that we will create in today's debate. The educational policies help is what religion is teaching you. So with our policy now, we create a form of neutrality because now we make them less religious people. That doesn't mean they are less moral people, because a lot of atheists and people that don't believe in religion also have moral values. We think that's a misconception that when religion is taken away or we make them less religious, these are people that will be less moral or less living in the society. Before I go on to my second issue, sure.
How do you create revenue for cooperation by directly attacking individuals?
See, the cooperation will only happen if the state goes up and tells you, this is the policy that I'm going to put forth, that what you've been thinking all this while is wrong. This is what actually society is made up of. This is what actual society and people think of in their daily lives, and you have been shoving it down their throats all this while, and a change needs to happen. But what you do under your paradigm is that you allow for that bigoted society, you allow for that naturally conservative society to live on and perpetuate, and not only harm the people, harm the minority in this case, but allow for no change to happen, because organic change is one that we cannot wait for, and it will just take too long. The second issue, will this harm religion? The first thing that they told us is that now religious institutions will start lobbying for more followers, because now they're going to somehow apparently lose followers. This is never a want of side government. We told you they can still be religious people, but they can always believe in the basis of religion, or religion, what religion is always about, faith and salvation, a praise of scholars, so on and so forth. These are all things that you can have. But if your choice of lifestyle harms a third party, harms certain individuals, we have to limit the capacity for you to harm that individual. We have to tell you what you're doing beyond this line is wrong, madam officer. We tell you that this is why religion won't be harmed at the end of the day, because people can still practice religion, just not harming other people in the process of practicing religion. But even if churches will start lobbying, we think that number one, they will lose their tax exempt status because they can't participate in political policies in the first place. We don't think churches will want to opt into this. The second thing that they told us is that education cannot and does not impose values. Yes, but it doesn't mean that you can limit their capacity of access as much as education that the person can get. That means because of religion, because of the religious policies or religious people in society, I cannot access the maximum capacity that education can give me because of certain individuals in society. Maybe even if religion is progressive, but there are certain groups of people or some majority in the United States of America or any other Western liberal democracy that still remains conservative and religious, and these are the people that we want to target in today's debate. That is why it's limiting the progress of education in the first place, because creationism is the upper hand of evolutionism. We cannot teach that much sex act as to people, and we cannot give them as much as information as we could have if people were just less religious and accepted more of what we're going to teach them. Let's talk about a few things that both my speakers talked about and wasn't thinking in the first place. Hamid told you very clearly what is religion, what is the purpose of education, and can it overstep religion in this case? Because if Western liberal democracies take upon the policy of taking care of education in the best way possible, giving them as much as education as they can, and making people less religious, other countries that are not Western liberal democracies, for example, India, where the sex ed is close to zero, and where even in Malaysia, for example, where the sex ed is close to zero, these are some of the countries where if your allies are people that you actually know what you do, because we extract education from a lot of other countries that are superior from us. This also will be a step for them to create more equal, neutral policies in society, more neutral education systems that will provide for most of society, not only that minority or that majority that is religious, but the minority in this case. We think that we're very extremely proposed.
Ladies and gentlemen, we think the proposition in this case is actually very confusing. They tell us that they don't want to limit the number of followers that are coming to these religious institutions, but let's look at what they're actually proposing. They're promoting a government coming into the educational curricula of countries and trying to make the population less religious. What they are doing is exactly the opposite of what the claim. They are trying to reduce the number of people in society who believe in religion. they're trying to undermine religion, and they're trying to get rid of it if they can. So we think they're very confused on what they're actually setting out to do in the first place. Let's look at this debate through three questions. Firstly, is it legitimate to actually use the religion itself as a leverage to try and create political change? Secondly, what effect does religion actually have in society? And thirdly, what is the effect of the policy that the proposition is claiming, and what effect is it going to have in society? Now, this first question of legitimacy. What we heard from them is that people can still be religious, but they just have to change their entire belief system. We think that it's hugely illegitimate to say that every single person of a religion, we are talking, no thank you sir, but if you take Islam for example, we're talking just 1.2 billion without one religion